The last and only fortress of the Imperial Legion in the hostile wastes of Morrowind's Ashlands, the Buckmoth Legion Fort stands as both a garrison, keeping an eye to law and order in one of Morrowind's most desolate regions, and also, coincidentally, perhaps just keeping a check on the nearby city of Aldrune, just, in case of rebellion. And it's also a potential front for whatever horrors might descend from Red Mountain. While it's certainly an important defensive fortification for the Imperial Legion, this fort on the outskirts of Aldrune has rarely been touched upon by mods. Except, didn't we just do a Mod of the Day showcase on this? Imperial Legion Fort Upgrade Buckmoth, wasn't it? And this is another one? Huh. Well, never mind then. I guess there are actually quite a few options for Buckmoth. And more specifically, today's Mod of the Day is the aptly named Buckmoth Legion Fort by the Inwas and Mushrooms team. Like our previously showcased Imperial Legion Fort Upgrade, this is an overhaul for both the exterior and interior of Buckmoth Legion Fort. Though unlike Fort Upgrade, it keeps more of the original vanilla design and layout, rather than gutting out and expanding the main keep. And unlike Fort Upgrade, Buckmoth Legion Fort also expands the overhaul here to include the landscape surrounding this Imperial Legion Fort, using a lot of those beautiful cliff pieces from, I believe, Obdata, to just add a bit more depth and detail, and of course verticality, to the hill that the fort sits upon. There's also some more defensive fortifications just leading up to the fort itself. Barriers ready to be moved into place to repel attacks, as is only natural for a strategically placed Imperial fort like this. And also, obviously, there is just quite a bit of detailing in the yard of the keep itself, with an outdoor blacksmith, a training area, archery range, a fair bit of storage and clutter, and a well for drawing water, which is, of course, rather handy, to have in the event of a siege. Like with Fort Upgrade, care has been taken to cover things underneath awnings and overhangs, so they don't get buried in ash from a passing ash storm. All in all, the exterior overhaul here is simply gorgeous, especially with some distant land and those lovely vapor mist effects. And combined with all that, I dare say that this Imperial Legion Fort has never looked better. Though I did also, quite like the look of the previously showcased Fort Upgrade. But, naturally, as you might imagine, you can only choose one here, you can't have both of these overhauls. And as a note, this is also, yes, quite obviously, compatible with Rocky West Cache, which you may have noticed just there in the background. But anyway, going inside, the interior of Buckmoth has also largely been overhauled, though not quite to the same extent as the interior overhaul for Fort Upgrade. Buckmoth Legion Fort keeps pretty much just mostly the same layout as the vanilla fort, though it does get rid of a lot of the useless and maze-like corridors that so often plague Imperial Legion forts, just to better streamline the interior bit. But otherwise, while it mostly keeps the same layout, it also adds a lot of new detailing, clutter, and atmospheric lighting to give this old Imperial Legion fort a bit more life. In particular, you'll notice a number of animated sitting NPCs, more detailed bunk and dining areas for the soldiers, a more grand and official-looking office for the Imperial Commander, and, of course, a rather lovely shrine for the Imperial Cult. There is a lot of fantastic assets here from both Obdata and Tamriel data to help make this fort feel, a bit more lived in, like the mighty fortress it's supposed to be. To say the least, this is another wonderfully and exquisitely detailed and beautiful overhaul from the Inwas and Mushrooms team, and one that is well worth checking out for yourself. But that's just our Mod of the Day, so, as always, I've been your host, Dark Elf Guy. Thanks for watching, stay safe, stay healthy, happy modding, and I'll see you all next time.